Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he...
50 Cent is quite straightforward. Living his best life right now. Why? Because Rick Ross just pulled off one of the most outrageous switches in the game, allegedly misleading Big Meech, and now there are rumors that Meech may have even put a hit out on him. Everyone saw this move coming, except Big Meech. Now the internet is going crazy over this whole situation, as if it were the grand finale of the most bizarre reality show ever released. But what did Meech really think was going to happen? Trusting a former correctional officer isn't the smartest move. Let's calm down the madness.
We'll burn it all down. If you piss him off. His own sometimes too. You know, he'll cancel BMF to prove a point. Regardless of how much money.
Ever since Ross chose to distance himself from him, 50 has been making subtle remarks about Big Meech and Lil Meech online. What's even crazier is that Meech was out here smiling and hanging out with Rick Ross as though he was the next big thing, rather than showing appreciation for the one person who supported him from day one. Meech turned his back on 50 and made peace with Ross. Ross knew that he and 50 had been at odds for years, and while 50 wasn't expecting Meech to start a conflict, seeing him act overly friendly with Ross, as if Ross had been there all along, had to feel like a betrayal. However, Meech didn't stop there. Instead, he connected with Floyd Mayweather, all while Lil Meech made a splash with $5 million and constructed a hole. Interview 124/150. For example, some people claim that 50 Cent profited off of Big Meech's name, but let's be honest. At least 50 built an empire from it by working hard, creating opportunities, and maintaining it with respect. However, what did Rick Ross do? He treated Big Meech like a piece in a shady game of chess. Ross saw this drama coming and chose to ignore it instead of warning anyone. He acted as though he was in control, chasing influence, making headlines, and boosting his ego. Then, as soon as things heated up, Ross disappeared without anyone understanding what was happening. He suddenly revealed that he had suffered a shoulder injury, making sure everyone on the internet knew about it, as if we were supposed to sympathize.
What I'm doing right now, my shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still counting paper. This ain't a pump and dump, baby.
But it gets worse than that shoulder story. It wasn't just an excuse. It was a complete diversion to try to avoid criticism from his own fans. Yes, the same fans he allegedly missiled with that cryptocurrency hustle boss token were mocking him online, calling him Rug Ross, because he pulled the rug out from under people who trusted him with their money. He didn't apologize or show any remorse. He simply disappeared with the funds. And let's not forget the timing, just days after he fed Big Meech. Ross was the one influencing Meech to pressure 50 Cent for more money. If that's true, then Ross wasn't just being shady. He was playing both sides from the start. This man shows up with a broken shoulder, which is quite a coincidence. As though he were carrying bad luck, many in the industry are avoiding Meech, who currently has nothing to his name. The Wingstop franchises that people thought he was taking advantage of. The truth is, Rick Ross quietly sold most of them, leaving only 2 standing. He used the remaining funds to fund his real estate ventures. Had Ross not intervened, Big Meech might have had a real chance to restore his reputation and possibly regain some of his shine in the industry, but he was caught making a series of poor decisions.
I feel bad for Lil Meech. I don't feel bad for no grown man in this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the fuck I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too, nigga. You asking for my sympathy for it, nigga. You be alright. Ho ass, nigga.
People online are tearing Big Meech apart, pointing out how quickly that false friendship with Rick Ross came to an end. One voice that stood out was Michael Rainey Jr. He wasn't holding back, despite spending millions on designer clothes like chrome hearts to keep up with artists like Gunna. He said openly that he doesn't feel sorry for them because they are both mature enough to have seen this coming, and guess who else was joining in on the chaos? Yes, 50 Cent was on his part of the internet, doubling down with his usual energy. As you know, when 50 gets mad, he doesn't just throw jabs. He goes all out to make his point.
Out of all of this.
Who's the bad guy? I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. Yeah, Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No,
No? You think 50?
no,
Lil Meech.
no.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to.
50 Cent is the last person you want to take on, even DJ Vlad had to admit. He'll drag it out, change the course, and tear everything down to make his point clear. So let's not act like this is something new. I'm not the first one to say this. Meech, after leaving his team to be left in the dust in Canada, Rick Ross returned and claimed he had been testing their loyalty. This isn't loyalty, it's just manipulation, but honestly that's been Rick Ross' behavior from the beginning. Interview 655/712. Even Whack 100 felt it was necessary for him to intervene and expose Rick Ross as the true antagonist in this entire mess between 50 Cent and Big Meech. He saw the setup coming from the beginning and stated plainly that Ross had a plan to inflate Meech's ego, making it seem as though they were close, pushing him to turn on 50, and promising him money, connections, and respect. In the end, however, all of this talk was just smoke and mirrors.
How do you feel about the rapper Rick Ross having the same name?
Well, the fact that he stole my name, not that we had the same name, he actually stole my whole story, my identity, the whole thing. You know, he built his career off of my legacy.
Additionally, despite people's reluctance to acknowledge it, Whack 100 was speaking the truth. Instead, Ross was out there mocking 50 in interviews and acting like he was about to purchase the rights to the BMF series, knowing full well that he wasn't serious about it. Now none of that is happening, and there is no movement. If Rick Ross had truly wanted to help Big Meech, he would have kept things low-key and acted wisely. Ross stopped talking about Meech as if he had never been involved. And now the only thing Ross is focused on is whatever will bring in more money for him, with Big Meech no longer part of that plan. But here's where things get crazy. Rumors are circulating that Rick Ross was the real reason why Big Meech's Welcome Back concert was canceled. People thought 50 had sabotaged the event, and while 50 was playing innocent in public, he wanted Meech to stay behind the scenes and remain just another name in Ross' fake loyalty act. When 50 finally spoke up,
in his career that you'd have any respect for?
Oh, no, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I never wanted to work with him.
I'll buy your masters. You ready?
he simply posted and then removed it, saying, "I had nothing to do with this. Please stop calling my phone. I sincerely hope you have a nice day today. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm stronger than you think. I am quiet, cold, and chilling like a message from a man who's about to move in silence and strike loud." He didn't yell or get angry. People weren't trying to hear it at first, but now everything is starting to make sense. With the BNF situation in particular, Meech truly believed Rick Ross was on his side. Interview 850/912. Ross had been playing a track where he got wrapped up in the moment, almost as if he was honoring Meech. But this is the real twist. What if Rick Ross wanted to be Big Meech instead of simply paying him homage? Big Meech sounds wild. Ross' playbook shows that he has a history of using the names, stories, and influence of real-life street figures to build his brand. This isn't just speculation, it's fact. Just look at where he got his name. Rick Ross didn't create that name, he took it from the actual figure, a prominent kingpin from the 1980s, who was incarcerated at the time. When the real Rick Ross emerged, he wasn't pleased. He publicly criticized Ross and even sued him for identity theft and trademark infringement. The lawsuit was filed in 2010, and the real Rick Ross came with proof. He ran a drug empire that spanned across several states, and his name was well known in the streets. However, by that time, rapper Rick Ross, whose real name was William Leonard Roberts Ew, was already living the high life and was as famous as ever. Interview 952/107. Oh, and he was a police officer. By 2013, the judge ruled in favor of the rapper, stating that his use of the name was protected by the First Amendment. That's right, the court ruled it was free speech, and the real Rick Ross lost the case. Ross was allowed to keep the name and the fame, even though it wasn't originally his. Interview 10/7/1040. So, considering Ross' past, is it really that hard to believe he was attempting to use his name, image, and story to boost his influence once again? This may have been more about legacy building than loyalty in the first place. The BNF song, I Think I'm Big Meech, dropped by Rick Ross. When Meech arrived, Ross was there, smiling and posing as though he was writing for him. However, when it came time to help Meech return to the spotlight, Ross disappeared without a trace, and this isn't even the first time. Interview 1040/1112. When Ross played this type of game, fast forward to 2021, the same script, but a different name. At that time, it was Larry Hoover, who he was using to pursue Clout Hoover, a certified name in street history, who was still under lockdown. Ross was out here, dropping him in his tracks, as if he was truly standing with the movement. Word was that Ross even paid millions to the gangster disciples to continue using Hoover's name without getting caught. But when it came time to actually show up and support the cause, Ross disappeared once more. He made money off of Hoover's legacy without doing anything. Interview 1112/1140. Actually helped the man or his people, and people didn't let that go. The internet dragged Ross hard, and some people still claim that Ross fumbled that moment on purpose because he was too scared to show his face at that stadium when it was time to stand strong. Now we're seeing the same legend, the same playbook history, repeating itself, as if Ross never learned anything. When 50 Cent once stated that he never respected Rick Ross as a person, it's obvious why Ross isn't loyal to anyone but himself. He'll ride the wave until it dies, then dip the second things get tough, while 50 is probably smirking. While Big Meech and Lil Meech are allegedly hopping from celebrity to celebrity just trying to keep things moving, he's out there stacking more paper and going about his business without even lifting a finger. Now let's talk about the most bizarre turn in this entire story, Rick. While Ross was out there making fun of 50 Cent and labeling him broke while subtly discussing his inability to get a loan for his film company, he laughed as if 50 had taken a loss. But guess what? Only days earlier, that loan was authorized, and now Ross has taken back what he said, as he watches 50 build something monumental. It's kind of late in the game, and 50 isn't the type to backtrack. The bridges are burned, and at this point, there's no getting back into his circle. Let's not forget Zip with the drip. Fans believe Rick Ross is somewhere right now regretting his words, especially after flexing a short while ago and saying he was buying 50's masters. Looking back, that statement sounds completely ridiculous. Meanwhile, Lil Meech and Big Meech are looking like reality finally hit. Throughout this entire situation, he has been one of the most vocal voices. He called it from the beginning. Zip claimed that 50 was telling the truth about Big Meech, and that it was only a matter of time until Rick Ross lost interest and left Meech behind as if it were nothing. Well, fast forward to the present, and that is exactly what happened. Fans are discussing this extensively, and most of the conversation is negative for Big Meech. The streets are speculating that his career may be coming to an end, that his loyalty has been questioned, that his actions backfired, and that, as a result, it's going down as if the doors were closing permanently. The most recent development has everyone in the area gripped. The situation has gotten so bad that Meech is finally realizing how bad things have gotten. According to people close to the situation, he has been trying to do damage control behind the scenes by reaching out to old contacts in an attempt to mend broken bridges, even calling people he vowed never to deal with again. The problem is that most people aren't answering, and the respect he once had isn't there like it was. Some people even claim that 50 Cent's silence is louder than any criticism. In the meantime, Rick Ross has completely disappeared. No more tweets, no more flexing, no more phony love, only silence. He hasn't spoken much lately, but that's what makes it dangerous when 50 goes silent, because you know he's planning something major. People are starting to think Ross wasn't concerned about Meech at all. He only wanted the street credibility, the headlines, and the drama. Now that it's all gone viral, he dipped without looking back, and let's not forget that Lil Meech is caught in the middle of it all. The industry is eyeing him suspiciously, and nobody knows if he's riding with his dad or trying to find a new path. If Big Meech thought his comeback would be easy, this chapter just proved that it's going to be a bumpy ride. And with 50 Cent watching from the shadows, you can bet that this story isn't over yet, not even close. Let's face it, the only real comeback isn't this one. He went from being the star of a hit show to hardly being mentioned, and fans are saying it's the result of biting the hand that fed him. The streets are talking, blogs are devouring it, and the internet has receipts for everything from deleted posts to interviews. Big Meech's plans were a waste. You would think that after being imprisoned for so long, he would be more focused, sharper, and perhaps even wiser about who to trust and how to move in this game. But instead, it seems like the lessons never hit, and the decisions are just reckless. One online comment perfectly captured it, seeing a previous correctional officer mislead a prisoner who could have predicted it, followed by another dishonest person playing the same shady role, is karma. To be honest, that karma wasn't cold. It was served fresh out of the oven, but now I need to hear from you all. Do you think Big Meech is secretly plotting retaliation against Rick Ross, or is he just going to move on and take this loss in silence? This is especially true now that people are accusing him of abandoning his childhood friend, and the betrayal is mounting on all sides. In any case, this whole situation has been pure chaos from the beginning, and the internet is watching every move as if it were a live show, so please share your thoughts in the comments section. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons.